Yeah, but you're all lawmakers. You have access to these persons. You could have just called them saying, look, could you rein in your men? What's going on here? Rather than allow cameras or those kind of actions to be on national television.
For me, I believe that, yes, attempts will have been made. But of course, I mean, even the chairman of police affairs was not spared too, because he had to go through the same route. So if that happens, I know vividly that the chairman of police affairs would have even made contacts. But let me tell you something with this kind of, from experience, when it does happen, nobody wants to take responsibility. When the speaker came out, there were senior police officers there. There's somebody who at the rank of an assistant commissioner of police around there. When he came down, he was beckoning on him. And the man was like, no, I'm coming back, I'm coming. Somebody should take responsibility. What is going on here? It's like coming to the studio this morning, and by the gate there, you meet policemen standing. You should be able to have explanation. And if the man addresses you and say, for X, Y, Z reason, we're frisking or we're trying to get through your chambers, you cannot get access now, give us some time and all that, everybody can go back to his chamber.
Go back, Robert. I won't attempt to jump
to scale the way. Mr. Mohammed, if peradventure there was indeed a bomb as part of the new media ads that the police said there was a scare, that's why they acted the way they. Indeed, what if you had scaled the fence and gotten in there and maybe something went off? Would you now say the police didn't do a good job?
But we are aware that there are members of some of our colleagues were already in the chambers. Some of our colleagues were already seated in the chambers. And of course, they went through the same routine, through the same gate, while some senators were going initially.
So if some of your colleagues they went through that routine,
yes.
So why couldn't the
rest of the gate was not locked? You could get this explanation. What I'm trying to say, some of our colleagues got in there earlier because you see. Let me tell you, I think it's about walking to the answer. I think the guys who are doing the operation have instructions and they know where they are going to. It's as simple as that. If some members
are not being speculative,
no, I would believe so because I witnessed from ground zero at the time I arrived with the speaker, and I studied the situation from the beginning up until the end, and I was watching, and the journalist in me told me that there could be premeditated because what happened was that if a presiding officer, the Senate president got in, and of course there's still supposed to be a bomb supposedly there. The deputy speaker came in, drove in quietly. Some members were getting in, but when it was that time, that was when the gate was now shut. And we're looking for somebody to explain what is happening, gentlemen. What is happening? Nobody was answering. And you could see the speaker beckoning on, sorry, can I speak with somebody here? Nobody was listening. And at that point, it will be obvious that, okay, it means that there is an intention to stop us from getting access to I know when we got access. Why throw the tear gas? Why gas us? It's not Wuse market.
Now, just a moment, though. I mean, let's move into what eventually transpired. You had decided to gather for a purpose. Can you tell us more what transpired or what informed the decision of the House of Representatives not to extend or grant approval for the extension of the emergency rule? Was it a tit-for-tat matter, or was
No. I mean, some of us have grown beyond that because the whole essence of it is we've gotten into the chambers, we sat down for the day's business. One of the first opening remarks the speaker made was that, gentlemen, we have a task here. And that, of course, there is a request from Mr. President. He read Mr. President's request and said that he needed extension for the fourth time. And we'll look at it, say, okay, if Mr. President needs extension, what happened to the first extension? Between the first extension and the second extension, what was the progress? Between the second and the third, what was the progress? Between those times, what gains have we made? And on the basis of that, the deputy majority leader says, okay, he moved a motion that Mr. President is empowered by the Constitution and the Armed Forces Act, Section 8, to deploy armed forces to troubled areas. He can leverage on that and, of course, work on it while we'll adjourn the 8th of December to come back. What it means is that the same armed forces will still be within the states of Adamawa, Yobe, and Borno, and they will still be doing their lawful duties. The president has powers within the law to execute and be able to deploy the armed members of the armed forces, Navy, Air Force, and the Army to all those trouble areas. So he should leverage on that. For now, the emergency rule thing would rest it. Of course, it was meant. And when we come back, we could invite the service chiefs again. Let's see what progress has been recorded by that. Then we'll compare notes.
What reason did they give for refusing to extend it?
It's simple. What gains have we recorded? Before the emergency rule was extended, how many, and we listened to our colleagues who are from that area, and you cannot know a man's house more than the inhabitant of the house.
So it wasn't for political reasons?
No, far from it. You see, we need to grow, because let me tell you, if it's Borno, Yobe today, tomorrow it could come to Kwara, where I'm from. It could extend further to Osun or some other places.
Yeah, the reasons are so argue that if, while they declared a state of emergency, which restricts movement, supposedly for their safety, and then you still have that amount of casualty, isn't it common sense that, look, if you then lift it and say, okay, go ahead, everybody move, wouldn't you have a lot more casualty figure?
It's the same common sense. If you are doing a thing, if I'm coming into this studio through a particular route all the time, and I get thorns on my leg, I have to bleed. It's commonsensical for me to change a route and say, okay, I won't get through this route. Let me try the other route. Maybe I could get some.
But there's no suggestion of an alternative route to try here before this was.
No, there's an alternative. That's what I was saying. There's an alternative route.
Which is?
If you look, go and look at the Armed Forces Act. The president has wide powers to deploy the Army, the Air Force, and the Navy to any trouble spots of this country to do exactly the same thing that they're doing.
No, but before the president comes up with this letter to the Senate, we believe that the procedure is that the service chiefs, to the National Assembly, the service chiefs also advise him that, look, this is what we think should happen, before he then comes up with that. Or does he take that decision unilaterally?
No, he can't take that, because he too must be taking notes. And we are very aware that members of the armed forces are doing their best as much as they could. But at the same time, too, we know by our own stuff, because we are Nigerians, we stay in this country, we compare notes, we interact with the men on ground there, unofficially. And we did not just take the decision because we just wanted to take the decision. No, it's a product of a reflection, knowing fully well we have members who are from there.
Yeah, but the thing is,
and they will tell you exactly, and let me tell you something. The vigilante groups are synergizing, and the local communities are synergizing with the members of the armed forces. And they're making a success of it. That's an ingenuity. We can leverage on that as well, too. And these vigilante groups and other people, too, who are concerned are not complaining about these things. And the state governments now, too, can leverage on this and come in and begin to at least build confidence and get... Yeah,
but there are those who suggest that, look, that they may be sending... this refusal may be sending the wrong signal to the military, because they're losing men too. They're Nigerians as well. And so even with all of this fracas, this fight about approving or not, they may just get the wrong signal saying, look, we're trying our best here to see what we can do. But the National Assembly or this House of Reps says, well, you can't have this extension. So some would then say, upon what authority are we going to say, why aren't you recording any success?
I think we should not get too academic about this. Let's get very realistic about it. Because if it's academics, there's always the pros and cons and everything, even on every event in life. But I just want to say that we did not take it on the spur of the moment. It was a decision taken, well thought of. And we're saying that as representatives of people, it's not in our interest to see people losing lives all the time. But if you are applying a method, simple analogy, you apply a method. We did the first time, we did the second time, we did the third time. If we had approved yesterday, it would have been the fourth time. Why is the Senate hesitant, or why are they holding on?
No, that's still
no. I'm just saying that. Why are they? Because in the past,
they have invited the service chiefs.
I know, but in the past,
but the House has not.
No, because besides, we are on break, and besides, we looked at the entire thing. Must you the fact that the Senate is doing that, they are still in session. We are in session as well, but doing our oversight as well. But because we exactly know these issues, and we interacted with the people from the Northeast, we talked to ourselves. The gentleman, please, let's look at it this way. Even if you are from the same womb, you're not meant to think the same way all the time. And we looked at it and believed that, logically speaking, given any other opportunity, this is the best way to go. And we decided to do that. And that is not to say that armed forces will withdraw from those territories and not function. No. Go and read the Armed Forces Act. It gives the powers to the president and the functions they will do to trouble areas. And that is not out of place. Don't forget that I even read in some places is a suggestion by some people that we should bring in full military regime in those areas. You should cede it to the military. Let there be a military administrator, let the democratic institutions be suspended and all that. And that's a suggestion by a group. But we believe in this case, this will take us to where we're going to. Because solutions of the Northeast must just be enduring. How many grounds have we covered? How many territories have we lost in the process of the emergency rule? So we need to pause a bit and ask ourselves certain questions.
Another
and patriotic
question
for that.